Monsters Inc. Land is one of the most anticipated updates coming to Walt Disney World, and we have some brand new details. Hello everybody, welcome. The Muppets have found a new home with Rock and Roller Coaster starring the Muppets, so now all eyes are turning to what's going to be replacing their old home. Monsters Inc. Land for me is probably one of the most exciting updates that came out of the D23 Expo in past years. Probably even more exciting to me even than maybe Villains Land at this point, because it is going to be coming sooner rather than later. Villains Land is pretty far out there and we don't have a ton of details about it so far, but Monsters Inc. Land is starting to take shape already. Now, a lot of people weren't too happy about the fact that this Monsters Inc. area was going to be replacing the Muppets attractions in that courtyard area because they had a lot of heart for the Muppets. I'm definitely going to miss the Muppets, but I'm super excited about this Monsters Inc. area, especially the roller coaster. So let's take a quick look at what it looked like before and how it's going to be transforming. Before it closed, this is what the space looked like. You had MuppetVision 3D there over on the right, that large theater show. You had the little fountain there with Miss Piggy in the center. Pizze Rizzo's over there on the left side, a large indoor sort of casual dining experience. Some defunct shops in the center area, a large building there, a stage one. And of course, the iconic Mama Melrose Italian restaurant in the back. Now let's overlay the concept art as we know it today based on everything that Disney has put out officially. And I have to say, this updated land looks awesome. It just, right away, it just looks fantastic. Looks like a vibrant, definite plus up to the old space. And now as of today, it looks like we have the official name for this area. We've been referring to it as Monsters Inc. Land in the past, and we had been speculating that this was going to be called Monstropolis. Obviously, Monstropolis is the city in the movies and the films. And in addition, there was a Monsters Inc. sort of display in Hollywood Studios there in the Walt Disney Museum area that specifically called out Monstropolis as the name of this area, though it had never officially been announced. But Disney just recently released this brand new artwork, this brand new logo, if you will, of the new land, and it's called Monstropolis, the City Frightful. Now, Disney may refer to this in different ways in their advertising and on their website at some point, but I think it's safe to say that this is officially going to be referred to as Monstropolis, not Monsters Inc. Land and not something else. And because it's Disney, of course, we have to have a story. We have to have a backstory for this land. It has to make sense in the universe of Monsters Inc. So the big question everybody's been asking is, Monstropolis, why are we allowed to visit Monstropolis? Monstropolis is the city in the films, and it is for monsters, and humans aren't really supposed to enter into the world of monsters and Monstropolis specifically. If you remember in the films, if a human entered the world and touched anything, or even their sock got on you, there was a whole decontamination procedure that had to take place. Obviously, spoiler alert, we've moved from scaring people and bottling their screams to basically making them laugh, because laughter is way more powerful and runs their city better than screaming. So as part of that, it looks like humans are now welcome in the world of Monsters Inc. For the first time ever, they're going to be opening up Monstropolis to humans. They've even formed a new department called the Department of Human Relations. We have a new logo for that, and they are now going to be throwing this H.U.M.A.N. Day, and H.U.M.A.N. is an acronym, H-U-M-A-N, that stands for Humans Understand Monsters Are Nice. And this is a milestone for Monstropolis, obviously the first time ever that humans are going to be welcomed into their city as sort of almost like a cultural exchange program to allow you to now enter into the city and explore and see all the wonderful things that the Monsters universe there has to offer. And what's really interesting is because they had this culture of monsters being afraid of humans, like if a human touched you, it's over, like life has ended. Part of this program is in fact to show and help monsters in this city understand that humans aren't frightening and humans are nice and humans understand that monsters are nice. So basically developing relationships between humans and the monsters. As part of this, we also have some new artwork of a newspaper that is launching called the Monstropolis Horn, which is the largest newspaper in Monstropolis. And it is essentially announcing this new Human Day celebration that's going to be taking place. And this newspaper is really interesting because it confirms a few things that we've been talking about in the past. So let's talk about all the things that we're going to be getting here in this land and how this newspaper helps to confirm them. First of all, the big thing on everybody's mind is the suspended roller coasters. Disney's first suspended roller coaster in Walt Disney World here. Legs gonna be hanging, dangling down. You're gonna be going through the Monsters, Inc. Door Factory, a high-flying adventure. You're going to get to see people like Sully and Mike and all the characters, and really just kind of fulfilling a dream that I think a lot of people have had of being able to like visit this door factory and then even fly and hang on to these doors that are zooming on these conveyor belts through this factory. And my favorite thing about all of Monsters Inc. Land is not only this roller coaster just because the roller coaster looks awesome, but because the roller coaster is actually an addition to Hollywood Studios. It's not a replacement of something else. Disney's been doing a lot of replacements lately and not a lot of additions of new attractions. And so it's great to see that we're getting an additional attraction here in Hollywood Studios that is now taking up a large area of space that was previously taken up by the employee parking area. I'm gonna go ahead and throw up this map that's sort of gonna showcase all the different elements of what we know is coming and where this sort of roller coaster attraction is gonna be fitting in. It sort of juts out there and expands into the parking lot. And then one of the other large elements of this new land is a theater, which was formerly called the Monstro. In the original concept art, it was referred to as the Monstro, and then later was renamed and called the Glob. We all assume that this was a play on Shakespeare's The Globe, very iconic theater in London. And the visuals of the Glob have changed a little bit from the previous version when it was the Monstro. It looks a little bit more serious and less playful, which is interesting. I'm going to like to see how that comes to life. The little awning out front of it was sort of removed, and the convertible that was sitting out front was also removed. So I think that Disney has kind of been playing with that space between their different concept art updates, and they've now sort of made a few more changes here. But what's really interesting is it seems like the Glob is now officially confirmed. We still don't know the name of the show that's going to be at the Glob, but in the newspaper right up at the top there, you can see that there is a call out to this new theater, this new show, basically confirming that we are getting this new show. The only real clue we had about that show was in the previous version. It specifically says Late Night Screams under the Monstro, which kind of is like a throwback to what Monsters Inc. used to be when they were looking for screams versus laughter, and it's now been changed to the Glob, and there's no real reference to the Late Night Screams, so we don't really know what's going on with that at this point. The other big thing showcased on this newspaper is Harryhausen's. This is the restaurant from the film, the big fancy sushi restaurant that Mike Wazowski takes his date on. And we've been speculating that this is going to be more of a high-end, fancy, potentially sushi type restaurant versus something more quick, fast, casual, which would be really interesting because they don't have any other restaurants on property that are like that today. And it looks like this has been officially confirmed now as being Harryhausen's because it is also referenced in the newspaper right at the top there. But what's really interesting about these two announcements here is that there is a reference to seeing essentially more information, read the story about these two things on page 8, column 15, which if you know anything about the D23 Expo this year coming to Anaheim, California, that is going to be the Disney Parks Resorts, the panel there is going to be on August 15th. So the date there lines up, which basically infers to us that we're going to be getting some more information, which we kind of already assumed we were going to get during the D23 Expo on all these expansions like Monsters Inc., like Villains Land, Tropical Americas, etc. It looks like officially we might get quite a bit of details around the Glob and around Harryhausen's, which I think are the two most important elements to this area that we don't know yet. We know the roller coaster. We know that there's Harryhausen's, the restaurant, but what's the menu going to look like? What really is it going to be on the inside? Is it going to be fancy sushi? Is it going to be a seafood restaurant? Is it going to be something completely different from the film? We don't know. So it looks like we might get some details coming up at D23 Expo on that. The other one is the Glob. What's the show going to be like? Is this going to be a worthy successor to MuppetVision 3D? I think we're going to get some really cool details here in D23, so I cannot wait for that. Now, there are a couple of other big things coming to this land. Pizze Rizzo's being replaced. I've been saying this for a bit. We're expecting this to be the fast casual restaurant, quite honestly, in the entire park. I think it will be like the #1 fast casual, quick service, grab and go restaurant in all of Hollywood Studios. I think it's going to be themed to Monsters Inc., obviously, have more themed foods like some of the foods and things that you're seeing coming out of Epic Universe and Universal, like the Minions Cafe, the Super Nintendo World, sort of Toadstools Cafe. These are like cute little themed foods around Monsters Inc. I think people are going to be flocking to that area, and it's going to be big. So I think it is going to be like the #1 quick service dining location in the whole park once it opens. Obviously, you can see there's a large park in the center here that has replaced that stage 1 sort of center large structure shop there. That has been demolished, and they're now putting in a park there. There's a few other things that have changed in recent concept art from the original concept work, which I'm really excited about the changes they made, because the original version had this sort of like more modern, almost like eye statue sort of sitting in the central city park area there near the entrance, and they've now changed the concept art to reflect that there is in fact a water fountain there, which I think is much more vibrant, adds more life. I think it works better. There was already the Miss Piggy fountain there, and I think removing that and just putting a piece of artwork wasn't like an awesome idea. So I think it's a good thing that they've brought this fountain back in. They also updated some of the walkways and things. You can see them a little bit clearer in the new concept art. So you can see things like, it looks to me like the walkways in certain areas, especially the entrance there, are almost modeled after like scales, like monster scales. So the tiles that you're going to be walking on, I think that's some cool thematic elements there instead of just like standard brickwork. I like what they've done there, so hopefully we do get that. And then they really made a lot of updates to what I'll refer to as the plaza area there in front of Monsters Inc., the roller coaster and the factory, which really resembles another piece of concept art that they had released earlier to us. It's kind of like a parking lot theme. It's got some vehicles in there now. And then over to the side, it looks to me like what is going to be there is a playground of some kind. So they sort of expanded that area, giving us a little bit more detail there. And we're going to get some sort of maybe children's play area, maybe some meet and greets in this space to maybe meet Mike or Sully. Could just be also a relaxation zone. You can see those awnings in the concept art. It could just be maybe like splash pads or just a chill spot. I'm not sure 100%, but it looks like a place that maybe like families can hang out and just generally relax. So it looks like Monstropolis is going to be the official name. We got some more details coming up. D23 Expo. I cannot wait. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. What are you the most excited to hear about at D23? Drop me a line in the comments. What are you most looking forward to in Monsters Inc. land? Is it the roller coaster like me? I just cannot wait to fly through this door factory on a hanging coaster. I'm really hoping it is like Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind caliber. We'll see. So that's all I've got. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this content below. Thanks so much for watching. Till I see you next time, the noble way is the easy way. Bye-bye, everybody.